different browser, it is working, and then that allows you to sign in and we can record your attendance. So we'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. Again, we've got 43 people on the call today. And from a roll call introductions, I think we've met frequently enough. I don't think we need to go through and do any roll call or introductions, but just from the main voice speaking today, I'm Kimberly Culp with LIDA. And then we'll just jump right into the project update. So we have it listed as Nancy giving that update, but I'm going to guess it's probably a combination of Nancy, Cindy, and Wes. So who would like to take the lead on that? And Wes, we know you are on, so if nobody else speaks up, we're just going to default it to you.
Ron, I don't have any visibility to the screen. So
somebody needs to bail you out from your team then. So is that Cindy that chimed in?
If they do, I think I better call Cindy. Yeah, I'm not online there. I can't get online. So,
do we have Cindy on by chance?
I don't see her.
Okay, how about Nancy?
I don't see her either, unless either of them have joined by phone.
So, Daryl, do you want to go ahead and go to the document that is a brand new document in that folder for our weekly calls? If you want to display that one, and I'll just go through the schedule from what I know. Wes, do you mind pinging Cindy to see if she can jump on this call today? That would be helpful.
You bet. I'm doing it right now, Kimberly.
Thanks. So everyone, this is a document that CenturyLink has drafted to kind of streamline the communication about the project. So it's busy, but if you really take a look at it, it's really helpful as it relates to kind of knowing where you are in the project. And so I'll just talk through a little bit about what I know so far, and then once we get Cindy on, we'll be able to dive in a little bit deeper. But the PSAPs up top there, you'll see in the third column, yes, as it relates to if they migrated and if the migration is complete. And so all of those PSAPs have migrated over, and we're going to be able to add the Denver PSAPs as well. So they did migrate yesterday successfully, and we look forward to hearing in a little bit how that went. And so DIA, their backups, City and County Denver, all done and migrated. Broomfield and Westminster I have in yellow because there's a piece of the project that still needs to be completed, and that's the LA migration. So that's still pending. But
Kimberly, there's a scheduled date of 5/20 now for completion of that.
Fantastic. Thanks, Jeff. So that'll be done shortly. So that's great. We'll get that complete this month. So from a big picture perspective, those are the PSAPs that we are done, that have cut over. And then Daryl, if you want to go ahead and scroll down. Great, thank you. So then if you want to go to this document and look specifically at your PSAP and take a look at what's going on with them and the dates, you shouldn't be surprised by the dates. The dates for the migration are going to be way over on the far right of this document, but you shouldn't be surprised. These are all dates that should have been communicated to you, so you shouldn't see anything that is jumping out at you being, hey, I don't know what's going on here. So yep, exactly. The migration schedule is when you're actually moving over to the ESInet, and then you have all the other dates and dependencies before that, with the equipment being racked, them coming on site, doing the pre-migration testing, etc. One thing about the schedule for everyone is many of the PSAPs authorities were in a to be determined bucket, and that's because of different project issues CenturyLink was working through, and hopefully they'll be able to give us an update once they jump on about those. But from a big picture perspective, those dates are to be determined, meaning we're going to have to figure them out and get them plugged back into the schedule when it works for you and when it works for the resources from CenturyLink and your CPE and Intrado. So I don't know if anybody's looked at these resources or if you have any specific schedule questions, or if Cindy was able to join us to go into this deeper.
Cindy will be joining. They thought this was still the pre-meeting, I think, on the messages. So the team, or at least Cindy, will be joining here shortly, any minute now.
Okay. She
I thought
must
that
not
might
have.
be the issue.
Yeah.
And Kimberly, because I think this document has turned into a really useful one for everybody, and right now it's just kind of buried in the weekly meeting folder. I think I'm going to make a different, basically make it more prominent on the ESInet users group page. And I see Cindy joining right now.
That's a great point. We need to make sure that this is right front and center so you can find it easily. So.
Yep.
Great. So Cindy, were you able to get on? All right, well, we're waiting for her. Does anybody have any quick questions about this document or their particular date?
Hey, this is Tom Clear Creek. I have a question and some concerns with our status.
Okay, Tom.
We had to postpone the ESInet equipment install because we did not have the UPS in place. And we did have a UPS, but it doesn't have the twist lock connection. So we've since replaced with an APC unit, and that has twist lock out, but not twist lock in. And apparently we're having some real challenges finding UPS and battery backup that is twist lock on both ends. And I'm curious what some of the PSAPs that have already migrated have done. Maybe I can get a model or a recommendation.
Tom, that's a great question. And we have not tackled the electrical requirements yet for our deployment. So I'm going to look to Bretza or Aurora Weld if any of you have some ideas or if you had to make any modifications for that requirement.
Yeah, Kimberly, I don't think we had to make any modifications that I'm aware of.
Okay, thanks, Patty. I don't see Rob on today.
Kimberly, this is Bruce. I know I haven't migrated yet, but our UPS is powering the panel, and the panel has a particular circuit that goes out, which includes the twist lock.
Got it. That makes sense.
Okay, so the circuit is on a UPS and battery backup before the twist lock, correct?
Correct.
Tom, was your concern the actual input to the UPS or the output to the UPS? I'm not sure I understood.
So the output is twist lock. The input is the standard friction.
I'm not sure. Maybe someone from CenturyLink can clarify, but I think they only care about the output so that they can plug their PDUs into that with the twist lock that they've requested.
Well, yeah, that's not what we were told.
And thank you, Ed, for that. And that's concerning. So anybody with CenturyLink on that could clarify that requirement?
Kimberly, I'll have to go back and check. I don't think we've had the question on how the UPS plugs in before. It is, we are looking for the twist lock to plug our equipment into. So that is correct. But I haven't had any investigation into how the UPS plugs in itself.
Okay, so Tom, do you remember who from CenturyLink told you that it had to be on the other side as well?
It would have been our project manager, Nancy, and then I've got a bunch of emails back and forth. I think it was Kevin, was a CenturyLink tech or electrician, who specified it's got to be twist lock from the outlet to the UPS, and then twist lock from the UPS to the equipment.
Okay, I'm just taking notes. So Cindy, since
Yes,
he was working with Nancy on this, and then do you
yes.
know, is Kevin Newton or a different Kevin?
It should be Kevin Newton.
Okay, is Kevin going to jump on and join us today?
I'll double check. I'm sorry, we all had it marked as the pre-meeting, so I think everyone was deliberately not jumping on because it was flagged as the monthly pre-meeting.
Yeah, I did send an email out to everybody, and we made this change that we would all be able to be on the call together to save everybody time, since we didn't have a lot of issues being documented. So I'm not sure why the CenturyLink team didn't get that email. But
Okay.
going forward, it's always going to be just one joint meeting that we'll be working together on versus separating them into two. That worked out good in the beginning when we had a lot of questions coming from the PSAPs and authorities, but right now we haven't received a lot. So
Yeah, hey, this is a good one. I got the notice and the emails about the cancel it or the rescheduling and everything. It was like I mean, it was a bunch of emails that canceled a bunch of meetings, and then I still have, after accepting all those and going through and deleting all the cancel, I still have next week's meeting on my calendar for whatever reason, or I did this morning. I deleted it or declined that meeting. But I mean, confirm we are not meeting next week. It is just the second Wednesday of each month.
that's correct.
Moving forward.
Yep, that's correct.
Okay.
And every Friday.
And Tim, because it was a series of meetings, depending on what type of calendar application you use, it's going to show up differently. But I'll send out a reminder next week that we are not having a meeting next week.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, it just seems that our Outlook does not play well with your Google. Sometimes.
Well, and I think I saw a couple of meetings that got quarantined or notices that got quarantined. I think because of the large distro. So it might have gotten stuck in there. But Kevin is jumping on. Bruce, didn't we? Weren't we doing something with you where you were going to be able to get an extension cord that had twist lock?
Yeah, but that's just from the so we have a twist lock on the wall or two that are a little too far for your equipment to reach it directly. So we said it was acceptable to do a twist lock extension. So I had the electrician build those.
Yeah. I'm just wondering if that's an option to connect.
So there is a difference, okay, for a twist lock. This is Kevin. I'm sorry I joined late. So a twist lock extension, both ends are twist lock. So there's relatively little concern of them unplugging by accident. So if you have a regular friction type plug at one end and twist lock at the other, we have the same, I mean, you have the compatibility for us, but you do have the same risk of someone just kicking the cord or having it disconnected unintentionally.
So Kevin, Tom with Clear Creek is concerned because he's having a difficult time finding a twist lock for his UPS. And Ed from LIDA also was asking some clarifying questions because what Tom was told was different than what our understanding was. So what is the electrical requirement as it relates to twist lock? Just a twist lock for your equipment to plug in? Or is CenturyLink requiring a twist lock on both sides of the UPS?
The requirement is we can't plug in other than a twist lock. So on our equipment. Now on the other end, if you're just using a cheater cord or something, you do, like I said, you have the same risk of there's a reason why twist locks are used. They can't be disconnected by accident. You can't just, time will work out, just the vibrations of the earth will work things out on ultimately. But the friction connector is not nearly as secure.
Okay, so what is required and what was required in the PSAPs you've cut to date?
We have to have a twist lock to connect.
That's what's mandatory. Twist lock to connect your equipment, but it's a PSAPs authority's best practice call.
Yes. Yes, let's just say it that way. It is the best practice to have a twist lock at both sides.
Okay, and one of the options that Bruce, you had your electrician create a twist lock extension cord.
That's correct. For one of my sites where the equipment that CenturyLink is providing, where the cord isn't quite long enough to reach my twist lock connections, I talked to Kevin and he said it was perfectly fine to have an electrician create a twist lock extension cord.
Yes, and like I said, there's no, when it's fully secure and it's twisted on there, it's not going to fall off.
So I was wondering if that was an option for Clear Creek if they're having trouble finding a UPS that's twist lock in and out. It's a twist lock on the wall, and they can plug that UPS into a twist lock cord. Or even if they have a twist lock on the wall that they plug the UPS into.
So
right?
I don't want to step into the role of product manager. We may need to bounce that off our product team.
That would be my recommendation. This is Tom again. So we've got the twist lock at the wall, but we're having a lot of trouble finding a UPS that is twist lock in and out.
Right.
Tom, this is Ed at Lita. One option may be if you have an electrician, you can just have them cut off the existing end of that cord and put an L5 connector on that as the input to your UPS.
Okay, if that's acceptable, then I think that's probably going to be our quickest fix because I physically have the unit here and could have an electrician probably do that in the next couple of days.
Because I guess a big piece of this is what can be done, but our product team is the one who kind of defined the scope, and we said twist lock plugs, and if you want variations from that, I guess I really would prefer to go to our product team and ask that question.
So Kevin, I think Ed just came up with a solution and a recommendation. Right. Do you feel like you need to vet that with your product team?
No, if it's a twist lock, we're happy with it.
Okay. So Tom, I think that could be the best option if you
want
to
that
take
works.
that right now.
Absolutely, that works for me, and it's probably going to be the quickest fix. So.
Okay. Great.
Thank you.
And go ahead. I'm sorry, Scott. Go ahead.
Yeah, this is Scott Fulbright from Pueblo County. We have kind of a similar issue, but on a larger scale. So we're installing into an enterprise-grade server room. So there are twist locks running our existing PDUs into the room, but I don't necessarily have extra twist locks in the correct capacity. But the equipment was plugged in by the installers into our existing PDUs. So is that acceptable or not?
I do have to get a waiver for that. And I wish we shouldn't have done that unless the waiver was approved ahead of time.
Well, and the installers let me know that the correct plug wasn't there, and I went down to look, and they had plugged into our PDUs, which I don't have a problem with. I just didn't know if this is going to be acceptable because we're marked down as there was an issue with our power.
Right. So if the installers are there, they'll go ahead and finish the install as much as they can, but let us know if there was an issue with power and flag it to come back and work with you on, so that way the equipment's there and we just have to move the plug-in when we get it resolved. So maybe we need to have a meeting with Pueblo County just to talk about what your specific scenario is with that room. We have, like we mentioned, we worked with Bruce and we worked with a couple of others to come up with solutions that can work with everybody.
So Cindy, when a installer goes out and they rack equipment and they find that the power isn't spec'd properly, like in this situation that Scott just brought up, then they follow up with you, you make a note in the project, then it's your job to then circle back to Scott to then set up a meeting or work through that so it can get resolved, or to what Kevin just brought up, a waiver is requested?
Yeah, so Nancy is normally notified, and then Nancy is reaching back out to CSAP to let them know that there was an issue with the power that was available. And
okay, it doesn't sound like anybody followed back up with Scott. Is that correct, Scott? Nobody came back and talked to you about it's plugged in, but it's not right, and we need to do a waiver?
I was muted. They might have contacted Shauna Clementi. I'm not positive, and she's off today, but I can check with her.
Okay.
But I'm not aware of that.
Okay, so Cindy, this is an open item then that needs some additional attention. So if we can follow up on that, that would be great.
Yep. Yeah, Kimberly, County staff, right?
I'm sorry, there was multiple people talking.
Kimberly, this is Shauna Clementi. I am on the line.
Okay.
And hi, Scott. I did get an email from Nancy asking when the power, the twist locks would be installed, but that's been a while, and I think we've had questions since then, and we haven't had any further follow up. So maybe we should have reached out on our end, but we're still in that situation.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll set up a follow-up call to talk with you guys about the power and see if we can come to a solution.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Great. So Cindy, we got started and Daryl pulled up this schedule document that you created last week to go through the project, but I highlighted the PSAPs that have already migrated over, the fact that Denver was migrated yesterday. And I just didn't know, I don't expect you to go through every project status, but do you have any schedule items that you wanted to discuss with the team that's on the call right now?
Broomfield and Westminster, we are scheduled to move their alley next week on the 20th, I believe.
That's what Jeff reported, yes.
Yeah. Vale, we ran into some issues completing pre-migration with them on Monday, and we needed to get some more CPE expertise on site to help out with that. So we're scheduled to go back tomorrow to work on Vale's pre-migration. So obviously their migration date is going to slip a little. But I think we've got the right folks scheduled to complete pre-migration tomorrow.
And what is their CPE that is it an issue because they're on Vesta?
They're on a Patriot. Yeah, and it was an issue with when we're trying to make our test calls. It looks like the system is picking up essentially too quickly, and I'm not the best person to describe it, but something with the battery reversal and then reversing back too quickly. So by the time the ESInet is looking for basically it sends a wink and is looking for an okay, and the Patriot is already reversed back and it looks like it's rejecting the call. And so everything was alternate routing on our test calls. So we just need to get in and look at some settings in the Patriot to see if we can put a delay in that. And I only loosely know what all that means on the battery reversal and the wings. But Kevin does, and we've got, I think Vincent is going to go up on Thursday and help the local tech that was up there, but isn't as familiar with the Patriot. We wanted someone more experienced if we were going to be monkeying with profiles that could impact their actual live production calls. So we decided to wait until we had more hands looking at it.
And Vale, are you on the call today? Anybody with Vale? Okay. All right, thank you for the update on that. Anything else with the schedule? Go ahead.
Thornton is having the ESInet equipment installed this morning. So we should be on track there. Jefferson County, as we noted before, we're still pending the firewalls. So at this point, I expect their schedule is going to slip a little bit, but hopefully not much. And with
Okay, and I'm sorry, why were you thinking their schedule is going to slip a little bit?
Because we need the firewalls. Firewalls aren't on site yet.
Okay. Great. Any questions on that one?
Yeah, this is Vicki with DEFCOM. I thought we had that equipment. I thought the only thing that was pending was the twist lock power.
The decision was made to upgrade to new firewalls, and those new firewalls are scheduled to ship here on the 15th.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
Clear Creek, we have you tentatively down for equipment install on the 21st and on the 27th.
Yeah, and I think we're still on track for that.
And I will push out the actual migration date because I know you guys need a couple of weeks with that pre-migration set up to do testing.
Yeah, I'm sorry, the beginning of that broke up.
I'll push out your migration date, I think, because
Okay.
I know that you need a couple of weeks testing with that pre-migration date. The 27th was the only date we had left in May to squeeze in a pre-migration.
Okay. All right, do you want to just let us know on the new date?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think you guys, I saw a couple of the emails that you wanted at least 2 weeks.
Yeah, so we'd probably be looking at mid-June.
I think so, yeah. Okay. We had you for June 4th, but with the pre-migration on the 27th, that only gives you a week. So I'll look for a date more mid-June.
Okay, that'd be great. Thank you.
And then the big one, we have El Paso Monday, Tuesday, doing pre-migration testing next week.
Okay. And everything's on track with that?
Yes.
Okay. Fantastic. Anything overall with the schedule that you need to talk about or coordinate or modify outside of the items you've already highlighted?
I don't think so, other than May and June are getting very busy and full. So hopefully anybody that was in TBD status, we're trying to work back in. But if you see me reaching out for dates, even though we still have something outstanding, it's just I'm trying to get placeholders back on the calendar before the dates all disappear, and push into if we're still pending power or circuits extended or we're still in lockdown but think lockdown might come open. I'm going to try and get a date in just to hold that on the calendar because the dates are going quickly.
Okay, so you're reaching out to the PSAP, so if they should be expecting an email or a phone call from you.
Yes.
To go through and try and coordinate some rough dates.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That sounds great. Anything else on this schedule, Cindy, that you want to bring up?
No.
Okay. Any of the PSAP's authorities want to bring up or ask questions about the schedule, communication about your dates, any concerns you have about your dates? Okay. Great. And then from the next item on our project update is just placed orders. Should anybody be expecting anybody showing up and working on circuits in the next few weeks, Cindy, or any?
I believe everyone should have gotten an email from Nancy if we had circuit orders placed for you. But if you have a migration date in June or July, we've ordered the circuits. And you should have installers coming in the next week or so.
And Kimberly, we just agreed on May 19th for the installation of the ESInet equipment at Littleton and South Metro.
Great, thanks, Bruce. And Cindy, are you aware of any issues so far with any of those circuit orders like we've encountered with Aurora and AdCom?
Not yet. I do know, I believe it's Gilpin County is still locked down. And so we placed the order there, but it's probably going to have to go on hold because they're not going to be open until the end of June or 1st of July.
Okay.
Kimberly, this is Shauna Clementi from the Pueblo Sheriff's Office.
Yes.
Just to step back a bit, our migration date is June 11th, and I haven't received any email about anybody coming out to install anything else.
No, your circuits are in and your equipment is placed.
Oh, okay.
What we need to schedule next for you is the pre-migration testing.
Okay.
And work out the power issue.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Great. Okay, so status of installs. So to the schedule, Denver migrated yesterday. I had emailed Cindy, you and the team, and just asked if there were any post items that you guys were working through, any concerns on that install, anything that was not so much CPE related, but more big picture from the ESInet. And so if you just want to kind of summarize, the cut went good. Are you guys still working through punch items?
No, everything went good. We're not working through any punch items. I know that the CPE team on site made a couple of config changes, but it wasn't related to the ESInet specifically.
Okay.
I think they had to change a couple of things as we were working through it. That slowed down testing a little bit, but they were able to get that done, and I don't have any at this point open items with them.
That's great news. And I'm not sure if we have anybody on from Denver today, but anybody from Denver that wants to give an update on the project? Okay, so that's good news because I'm assuming if they had issues, they would come here to discuss them. So hopefully quiet is good. So the next piece from a status of installs, we have a couple of items that we wanted to just put out there for the group that we can talk through. And so Daryl, I'm thinking, and I'm not confident that I have them tracked correctly on the discussion item spreadsheet, but if you don't mind putting that filter on and we can jump over here. And so one item is going to be item 88. And I'll just kind of jump around a little bit, but that has to do with the 8 versus 10 digit LE. And what the conversation has been so far with the PSAPs have been probably a little bit confusing. And so the 8 versus 10 digit LE, there's a handful of PSAPs that are still passing 8 digit LE, and that impacts the PSAP and the cut if they go PGM versus SIP. What CenturyLink has done is worked with Intrado to make changes where 8 versus 10 digit LE really, it's a choice now. You don't have to make that change. So I guess best practices standard would be to make the change and go 10 digit LE. And if you're doing a SIP deployment, that's going to be automatic. If you are going to do the analog handoff, you're going to have a choice to make. And then if you want to do 8 or 10 digit LE, and there will be some work required on your end and some work on CenturyLink's end. So before we talked about this, it was pretty much work that had to be done, and now it's more of a choice that you can make. So Cindy, do you want to add anything about that issue on this spreadsheet?
Your summary is correct. It is a choice we have. So DIA that we deployed yesterday stayed 8 digits on their Annie and Allie, and everything is working correctly. So we can make either work. If you want to switch to 10 digits, we need to coordinate and with you and your CPE team and CenturyLink, because to change the 10 digit Annie coming into you, we have to take down your EM trunks your circuits from the selective router and reprogram them and bring them back up. Your alley can actually change at any point because everyone in the state is set to an alley format that will take either format, 8 or 10 digits. So it is a choice, and I'll work with everyone to make sure we know what your decision is as we come up to your migration, so that I can let the ESInet team know, and they can have everything set up quickly.
And Cindy, how soon are you going to want the PSAPs to make this decision when you talk to them about it?
So we need to know at least 2 days ahead of pre-migration.
Okay.
So we need those configs in for pre-migration.
Okay, so you'll be reaching out in advance of pre-migration, telling the PSAPs you need to know by X amount of dates. So when they're ready to do the pre-migration and all that testing, CenturyLink knows if they're going to be doing that conversion.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense. Anybody have any questions about the 8 versus 10 digit alley?
So this is Vicki with DevCom. Can I just clarify, did you say if you're going SIP that it's automatically 10 and it's only if you're a PGM that you have to make that choice, or?
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
But you said you were with which county?
DevCom?
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. So since we're going SIP, it's going to be automatically 10 digit.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Okay, any other questions on that item that we've been discussing for a couple of months? Okay, and then the other item that we were tracking had to do with Grand Junction, and we had a VPN security discussion, and we held that actually last month, and so have some resources around that that are dumped into the resource folder, so I'll be taking that item off of our spreadsheet as well. So if you feel like you need some more information about what's requested to be able to get access into your CPE and IP addressing, we do have those resources. It's just in the resource shared folder, so make sure you take a look at that. And then we also had a question about billing, and so there was some questions about billing, and Daryl worked through that with CenturyLink, I believe, Daryl, and got the bill redone. Is that right?
Yes, so Aurora has received a bill for their first migration, as has Bretza. I have not seen a bill from Weld County yet. Is anybody from Weld County online?
They haven't got it yet, Daryl. That was just cleared yesterday, and I will manually send that out to Weld.
Okay, that's fine. And we have actually authorized the 40% matching fund payment to Aurora for their first part of their migration, and to Bretza as well. So go ahead.
Daryl, this is Mike Wallace. I actually received a CenturyLink monthly statement that actually included those charges just yesterday. And I think, Daryl, I've left you a message yesterday on your work phone. I had some questions for you.
Hey, Mike, it's Wes. That is not the proper bill. I can get with you later on that. I'll send you the other one here. There's bills that out that don't pay on the ones that you get unless it comes from me. They're just showing you what that is, and that's billing that will be suppressed. I know it's confusing, and I'll get with you on that. Oscar and I can do that.
Okay.
And I did also hear from Aurora that they have received a monthly bill that shows the monthly recurring charge, even though they shouldn't be getting charged yet because of that 6-month moratorium that's included in the monthly recurring charges. So I think they're going to be contacting you as well, Wes.
Yeah, no, it's the same thing as what Mike hit. That's a bill that will be suppressed. And so, yeah, I got that message from Scott early this morning, and I'll respond to him the same way.
Okay. But yeah, we've finally made our first payment on the grant, which is nice. It's just the matching funds. But then after Aurora and Bretza pay their invoice for the non-recurring costs and provide us with their proof of payment, we'll be able to give them the 60% for the remainder of the bill.
That's great. Wes, is there any way that you can suppress those bills before they get sent out? Because that would be incredibly confusing.
Yes, I'm hoping that I've actually sent messages up the line asking for that same thing because it is confusing. But unless they get a bill from me, it's not the real bill. And I've asked them to see what we could do about that, so to minimize that confusion.
Okay, I'm going to just update this item knowing that it's still open and that you're working on it, and that way the PSAPs can refer back to it. But if they can suppress those in advance, that would be great.
Daryl?
I agree.
I've got a question for Daryl.
Joe, go ahead.
For proof of payment, are you just looking for a copy of the check, or do you want one that's come back through the bank system if we still get them back through the bank system?
I think a copy of the check will probably be sufficient.
Okay.
There's also some forms in the grant agreement itself. It's attachments C2, 3, and 4 to the grant agreement that have to be filled out and returned.
Okay. The bill that comes from Wes, is that in an envelope from him, or is it, how does that distinguish from a bill from whoever else sends the bills?
Yeah, this is Wes. I email mine directly to the contact. So in your case, it went to Hank, and I'll send mine directly to Mike, and then send Aurora's to Scott, etc. So it's an email.
Okay.
Joe, this is Jeff. My advice would be to include a copy of the canceled check if available, or a printout from your accounting system showing when and where and how it was paid.
Thanks.
Okay, great. Thank you. So we'll keep this item open. I'll get it updated since we're still tracking this and Wes is working through some details for us. The next item we were working on is this pad device to the remote PSAPs in the BRETZA deployment. And I haven't heard an update on this for a while. So Cindy, do you have an update on where CenturyLink is at on installing those remote pad devices?
Unfortunately, we're still pending the contract amendment that gives us that ability.
Okay, so it's a contract amendment that you're working on with Intrado?
Yes.
Okay. And you don't have a date for that to be complete?
I don't.
Is that something that you're tracking, or should I assign this to somebody else?
Kevin and I are both tracking it.
Okay. And Bretza, do you have any questions, Patty or Joe, on this one?
No question.
Okay, thanks, Patty. And then I'm going to be keeping item 73 open. This is the fact that Aurora is our global default since they were the first on the ESInet. And so we talked through all what that looks like now that we have other PSAPs cutting over. Eventually we want to regroup and see if we can figure something like that out and maybe take that burden away from Aurora. Again, this is just a global default if a 911 call has no other place to go. So it's the last PSAP is what it's called. But we'll be keeping that open because that was a designation we gave them because they were the only PSAP for a period of time on the ESInet. So these are all the items that we've been tracking from a big picture perspective on the open items with CenturyLink. We also have a couple of other items that from a new business. Now, many folks have been talking about it for a while, but we have two other ones, and that has to do with the CallWorks PSAPs. And the CallWorks, if you have a CallWorks CPE, working through what your deployment's going to look like with that Motorola CPE equipment. And I know there's some relationship going on right now between Motorola and Intrado working through lab testing to hopefully get that CPE Motorola comfortable going IP on the ESInet. So I'll be adding this item here too. There's been a lot of emails back and forth about the status of that. But that is an item that we're tracking, is just the ability for CallWorks to take in a direct SIP or to go PGM. There's always that option to do the analog handoff. So any questions on that piece? And I'll get this added in our spreadsheet as well. And I guess, Cindy, while we're waiting for people to go off mute, do you have any update on the Intrado Motorola lab testing status?
I do not. Wes, have you heard any more if there's been any response to the offer that Intrado put out there?
No, I have not.
Okay. And does any of the CallWorks PSAPs authorities have any questions or need any other information about that right now? Okay, and then the next item that we've been tracking, and we're also waiting for some additional information, is from CenturyLink, and it's that change order. So right now, CenturyLink has provided an email documenting that if you do that PGM, so you're receiving the analog handoff, and later down the road you want to change that to direct SIP, then they are going to be charging a change fee, and that change fee is $4,800. So we just asked CenturyLink to include that in their next filing as an update to the commission, but then also to document exactly what is being changed when that handoff is going from PGM to SIP. So what work is entailed. Anybody have any questions or comments on that outstanding item? Okay, great. I will get those added into the spreadsheet and detailed here. Does anybody have any other item that they would like included on the spreadsheet that they need follow-up on from CenturyLink? Okay, so that is all of our new business then. So we will go to the next item on the agenda, which is open discussion. So anybody have anything else that they would like to bring forward for the purpose of this call, now that we've got all of us together and pretty much all of the CenturyLink team was able to get on, which is great. Okay, then the last item on our agenda is just that open or public comment, and that's for those that are not voting members. If you are on the call and you're not a voting member and you have something you'd like to bring forward, you are welcome to do so at this time. So anybody have anything else?
No, this is a good one. Just sorry we kind of messed up our meeting attendance today.
Hey, we were able to get you guys on all within 5 minutes, so we didn't suffer, so it's just fine. I know it can get confusing.
All right.
Okay, so if anybody does have anything and you want to email it over, feel free to email me directly with that information, or you can just jump on that discussion item spreadsheet, add information in that spreadsheet, and then CenturyLink has access to that too, and then that way they can reply and put some input in there. So anybody have anything else before we take down the call? Okay, great. Well, thank you everyone for getting on today. We had almost 60 folks get on the call, which is a great turnout. I really appreciate it. And keep the questions coming. So if you're concerned about something, make sure you're asking those questions so we can get those answers for you. So have a great rest of your day. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks.